Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Wednesday, August 10th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Notre Dame game is in 24 days, the game against Michigan in 108 days. We are back at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center for practice number 5. After practice number 5 for the Buckeyes on Tuesday, got to talk to the linebackers and got to talk to new defensive coordinator Jim Knowles. Tony Gerdeman, my guest, once again this morning. I don't think people are sick of you yet. I'm not totally sick of you yet.
You're not reading the comments, are you?
Well, never read the comments.
Yeah.
That's rule number 1. Tony Gerdeman, my guest again this morning. I guess, Tony, let's start with everyone's favorite fall camp story, Black Stripe. We have our first Black Stripe loss of the fall camp, and I think this is someone who kind of fits the mold of the guy who typically loses his Black Stripe first.
Yeah, the transfer coming in, Chip Trainum, linebacker, transfer from Arizona State. First Black Stripe removal of camp. Didn't know who it was. We just saw like something going on out on the field and figured it was a Black Stripe. And so the first person I get to talk to is Tommy Eichenberg. I'm like, not knowing, like, it could have been, an offensive lineman. Like, Tommy, who lost the Black Stripe? And he, like, it was Chip. And then he went into, why it was Chip. And that this is a guy who came in and really asserted himself without being, one of these pains that just comes in and is like, I do this now and I am this person. But acclimated well, and pretty immediately in the offseason became a leader. So lost his Black Stripe, asked everybody about him. Paula Ienaoteote called him a beast. Steele Chambers said that he was surprised that it didn't happen sooner. Like, it should have happened in the spring, basically. And he wasn't the only one who said that. So just a guy who is doing whatever he's asked, but has picked it up, picked the defense up, does everything that you want these guys to do, and was apparently the fastest of the linebackers as well. So making plays, and this is, as you said, practice 5 or so, and to already have his Black Stripe off, that's good. The transfer, he's a junior now, so you would expect he's a little bit more mature, and it's showing. And right now, he's battling for, I assume, the backup will spot behind Steele Chambers.
Yeah. Cody Simon talked about Chip Trainum and said he's picking up the defense very quickly, which is, that's impressive because he's changing 2 things at once. He's not just changing positions from running back to linebacker. He's also changing schools, and you've got a lot going on. And the fact that it's a new defense, everyone's sort of learning the new defense together, so you're maybe not quite as far behind as you would be otherwise, but it is definitely impressive. But he's someone who I think, I went back just now and was checking my notes on my phone whether we had picked him in the Black Stripe draft. We did not, because we kept it only to freshmen, because that's sort of an obvious one. So we'll have to see who ends up at the top of that list. My first pick in that draft, you picked Caden Curry first, which is still a great pick. My first pick in that draft was Sonny Styles. Now, I think, no, it was C.J. Hicks.
Yeah.
But that's okay. But
Sonny Styles was a different draft pick.
Sonny Styles, yes. Sonny Styles was someone who got talked about today a lot. He's someone who I think I'm still very much of the mindset, go in expecting nothing. Go in expecting maybe he's a contributor on special teams, and anything else is a bonus. But there's a but here. As you hear people talk about him, I'm maybe shifting. Let's pump the brakes. Everyone pump the brakes. He's not starting game 1. He's not. He still should be in high school. But you hear people talk about him, and it's like, well, maybe we need to inch those expectations up just a very responsible, very little amount.
I will be interested when we are in here Thursday to see where he is now in the pecking order at free safety, because last week he was the last scholarship free safety. Has he moved up? But yeah, making plays in practice. Cody Simon, I believe it was, called him just a raw talent, like the kind of guy who is just going out there and doing stuff. Now, he can do that in practice 5. He can do it in practice 7. What about practice 22, practice 23? When the fall camp is ending, you're getting into game prep, but is there a freshman wall this month? Or is he one of those guys that just gets better and powers through? Because he wasn't here in the spring, so this is all brand new. He's very fresh, but one of these guys that there are no such things as 6'4", 220-pound safeties. There's like 1 or 2, and maybe he is 2 or 3, and he's already rare. So to say that he can't do this or can't do that we haven't and we shouldn't, but I still think red shirt and like whatever happens is great. It's hard for me to expect and put too much on him as a guy who should still be a high school senior, but he's already rare.
He is, and again, I think let's just frame this again before I say the next thing I'm going to say. Let's frame this again. A year ago, the guy who was in this position was Quinn Ewers, 5-star, enrolled a year early, and then we spent all fall hearing about how Quinn Ewers was just trying to figure out where the locker room was, and played a grand total of 3 snaps, handed the ball off 3 times, and that was the entirety of his Ohio State career. I think you have to assume that is going to be the majority of the experiences for early enrolling freshmen. That is sort of what the baseline expectation is just like, look, this is a year to learn, this is a year to just, essentially, you're just getting a little bit of a head start for 2023. That's, I think, the baseline expectation.
It will be interesting. You've got Quinn Ewers on one side of the spectrum, Sonny Styles on the other side of the spectrum. They may be wildly different, and then there's no idea of what to expect the next time.
Yes, and so okay, let's bear all of that in mind while I read my notes on comments from Jim Knowles on Sonny Styles. Quote: "The secret weapon, defensively. Not sure where he fits yet, but Jim Knowles says he has not had to yell at him yet. I mean, I don't think Jim Knowles is a teacher. Jim Knowles, we'll get into Jim Knowles and sort of his style a little bit later because Taraji Mitchell had some interesting stuff to say about him. But he's, you're gonna get yelled at if you screw something up, and Jim Knowles has not had to yell at him for screwing anything up yet, which is, again, this is someone who should be in high school. And if you're kind of picking up the mental side of the game to the point where you're not getting yelled at for screwing stuff up, and your coach is calling you the secret weapon defensively, they don't know where he fits yet. Again, let's pump the brakes. They don't know where he fits yet. But it sure seems like if you've got the, they're looking at him right now and going, he mentally he can do it. Physically, he's, an anomaly. It's like, again, I just... very incrementally, I think I'm increasing my expectation for him.
I wonder, though, if his position coaches yelled at him. Jim Knowles, defensive coordinator, not yelling at him, that's one thing. If Perry Aliano, the safeties coach, is not yelling at him, that's completely another. I am imagining if Jim Knowles is at Oklahoma State with Sonny Styles, like what would he be? What would he do? What would they do with him? Because I'm betting he would find something for him.
Yeah, I mean, and you're dealing with a different level of talent, and that's something where, there are enough other good players on this Ohio State team that, you don't have to rush someone out there. I think, you look at like a Terrell Pryor on the late 2000s Ohio State teams, the quarterback talent there, he was just such a physical anomaly that you had to, you basically had to play him right away. You're not at that position. They are deep enough, and they have proven enough guys at most of these spots that you don't have to rush him out there. Where if he was at Oklahoma State, maybe the physical skills are just so astronomical that you kind of push the envelope a little bit. But pushing the envelope with someone like that, you're going to have mistakes. Like it is wildly irresponsible to think that this is someone who's going to walk in and just not. You are going to have a bust, you're going to have a missed aside. This is someone, again, who should be playing high school football this fall. So please, let's keep everything in perspective. But
Heisman.
At Tony Gerdeman on Twitter. There you go. 2 guys who it sounds like are very much ready to, no question that these guys are ready to play. Steel Chambers, Tommy Eichenberg. I mean, you got the Will, you got the Mike. It sounds like, barring something really, really surprising between now and the start of the season, those are probably your 2 starting linebackers.
Yeah, and Jim Knowles came out pretty early and said those 2 guys have really stepped up, taken ownership, taken leadership of those positions. And, we come into camp, let's remember, Cody Simon started 9 games last year. Taraji Mitchell started 8 games last year. And it was Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers who started the last 4. So other guys have, some claim. But Tommy Eichenberg, Steel Chambers have just picked up right where they left off and gone higher. And have really, he said Tommy Eichenberg is one of the quiet leaders of the team. I asked Tommy, do you feel like a leader? And basically he was like, I should. I am. I I lead, so yes, therefore I am. And he's not the most vocal guy, but and we talk to him during interviews, and it's sometimes it's quiet, but he's getting more talkative to the media, which tells me he's getting more vocal to his team as well, more comfortable in his own skin, more confident. And that was something he said, something Steel Chambers said. They're just more confident in their abilities and what they're doing, because they both saw it happen last year. Last year was the first time Tommy Eichenberg played, and last year was certainly the first time Steel Chambers played. And one of the things Jim Knowles said about what sets Steel Chambers apart at that will position is he just has more confidence than anybody else. And I talked to Steel Chambers about that. Like, you've been a linebacker for a year. Where did this confidence come from? And it's just putting in the work. He said trying to keep up with Jim Knowles and knowing this defense. And he said it's a pain, because you can't. Like, you can only try to know what he knows about his own defense. But the more you try, the better you get at it, and the results show on the field, and the more confident you are in what you're doing.
Confidence was something that Taraja Mitchell talked about as well. His quote was, "Confidence comes from the work you put in." And I mean, they have really had to put in the work this year, because it is an entirely new defense. You're learning new roles, and just because you've had I've played linebacker at Ohio State for 3 years, 4 years. Well, it's a whole different defense. So whatever you knew before basically doesn't matter. So now you're learning everything from scratch, which means there's been a lot of teaching. And Jim Knowles' teaching style and coaching style has been it's something we've kind of heard about basically since he showed up. And Taraja Mitchell said it is the first coach he's ever had that plays music during meetings. Like, during meetings, they're just playing music, because that's what kind of music is. Basically anything. He said you'd be very surprised by the music that he knows and likes. So he is, Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles, you look at Jim Knowles and you have a sense in your head that it's probably a lot of like Steely Dan, and it's like I don't think they're probably playing Steely Dan in these meeting rooms. So
I'm thinking maybe some Yes. Like, he's a very cerebral guy. He's probably playing a lot of like prog rock from the '70s.
Devo.
I don't know. Now you're getting into like the '80s, and that's a little bit too much. But
yeah, he said he plays plays music during meetings, which is very. And it's like, how does that help you focus, or because it seems like that would be distracting. But
if you think about it, like, you have to focus more then, because you got to block out some of the noise. I don't know I doubt that's why he does it. He is a teacher first, and so he has adapted to his students over the years. And I assume and probably could have asked him, but there's music during practice. Players like it during practice. Let's take it to the meetings and see what it does. Now, I'm guessing it's not overly loud.
Probably not. Yeah.
Background noise type of thing, and music for the players per se.
Yeah, just so they can't monetize the video of the other thing that apparently Jim Knowles is doing during these meetings is they're playing a lot of games. Troy said they're playing, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and that kind of stuff. I mean, just whatever you can do. And I think this is a fall camp thing. This is a spring football thing too. There's a lot of just redundancy and just repetitive. It's just, you get kind of, year after year we hear guys talk about, kind of the Groundhog Day feel of fall camp after a while, which is you get up, practice, it's the same thing day in, day out. Jim Knowles is just he's just doing different stuff just to kind of break up the monotony of camp, break up the monotony of all the coaching and teaching he has to do off the field. So that was something else he said.
Because remember, this is terribly boring for Jim Knowles too.
I would imagine Jim Knowles is probably pretty amped up at the opportunity to work with some of the players. Like as you sort of alluded to earlier, I don't think he had a Sonny Styles at Oklahoma State. I don't think he had a JT Tuimoloau out at Oklahoma State. Jack Sawyer, no. I mean, there's a lot of guys he did not have at Oklahoma State. One thing that Taraja Mitchell, this is a little bit of a non sequitur, but one thing that Taraja Mitchell said, the thing that my jaw dropped was he was talking about all the different coaches he's been fortunate to play with, and he started with Billy Davis, and it was like, Billy Davis feels like he left Ohio State in about 2016, and yet Taraja Mitchell it's like, boy, you have been around for a little while. He left the same year that Urban Meyer did. Yeah. So, but yeah, it feels like a minute since Billy Davis was at Ohio State.
And Paula Teote was kind of asked about the same thing, like learning a new defense, and he's like, I've had new defensive coordinators like every year of college, and he's like never been able to get comfortable, but now like. This is his final go-round, so you better get comfortable. He, by the way, I don't know if we mentioned this, working at Sam and Will, and Taraja Mitchell working at Sam and
Mike?
Mike.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I think that's right. And then the other guy working at Sam this spring is Reed, or this fall is Reed Carrico. We mentioned Sonny Styles. Very quick, CJ Hicks mentioned. The only thing I heard someone talk about CJ Hicks was Taraja Mitchell said CJ Hicks. He was asked who's the funniest person in the linebacker room. Said CJ. Immediate answer: CJ Hicks is the funniest. CJ Hicks was always, I mean, like super personable. I think anyone who ever covered him in recruiting in any form can tell you CJ Hicks is one of the most personable, outgoing, just fun, nice kids. Mark Givler dubbed him Captain Buckeye because he was just so outgoing and really a leader in that recruiting class. That's not a big surprise. Anything else you heard?
Well, my concern about CJ Hicks and all of the comedy, it's mostly props. So
CJ Hicks, the carrot top of the Ohio State linebacker room.
We'll see. We'll see if it pans out. I'm not optimistic.
One more thing wanted to touch on. Couple position shifts in the secondary right now, but it sounds like these are probably just temporary.
Yeah.
Couple guys, couple corners. Sounds like kind of dinged up, and a couple safeties kind of moved over. What's going on there?
Yeah, Cameron Martinez and Jansen Dunn have been taking some reps at corner because they're down a couple of numbers. I know Jordan Hancock has been out. Nothing, I don't think, seriously, though Jim Knowles wouldn't get into it. We saw him and Ryan Turner, freshman, on yesterday, just off working by themselves over by the beach, over in the stand area. So those are two guys who have been dinged up. I do wonder how much the injuries have factored into, say, Jair Brown, who was, the first or second silver bullet of the week, of the day for Jim Knowles recently. So he's making the most of his opportunities there. But, yeah, I don't think any of this is permanent. They just need some guys to rep.
Yeah, just need some extra bodies there at corner for the time being. But
they have 6 scholarship corners, so they need more.
Yeah, so if 2 of them are hurt, well, that's an issue. So, and again, there's no indication that either of those are real serious. If you're working off to the side, it's a decent indication. You're probably.
And another reason I think they can do a little bit of that with Cam Martinez is because Lathan Ransom is repping at all 3 safety spots. Mm-hmm. So they're just trying to fit pieces where they can, find out what guys can do, and sometimes you got to play a couple of spots to help out the team. And,
every once in a while you'll find, you might stumble on something too. You never know. Just kind of put that away in the back of your mind as just it's probably nothing, but you never know kind of thing. I think that's going to cover it for pretty much everything at least the big stuff we talked about today with the linebackers with Jim Knowles. It is a camp week. We will be back out on Thursday to cover some of the practice, and we'll get who do we have on Thursday? Defensive line, I think.
Wednesday? What?
We have Ryan Day Thursday. Okay, Ryan Day Thursday. All right.
Whiteouts. What?
Yeah. So we got practice Thursday. Get to talk to Ryan Day on Thursday. That should be, you're a week into camp, and now you're starting to see black stripes go off. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, now it's starting to feel like it's not. Pads are on, all that
now
kind of stuff. Now
you can start answering some questions.
Yeah.
Enough of this ducking stuff. Now it's time to answer some questions.
And you can make sure, well, first of all, we do need to touch on the YouTube thing. YouTube, we have a new YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to this new channel. We had to shift some things around. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel. This is where we will be have stuff moving forward. All of our podcasts, all of our camp coverage, pre-game shows, post-game shows, it'll all be here. So if you are on YouTube, you can make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that thumbs up button as well. That will leave us a nice comment if you can, and that will help move us up the algorithm, help other folks find the shows as we are getting stuff ramped up for Buckeye Huddle. And of course, on your podcast platform of choice, you can find this. You can find Buckeye Weekly. We're going to be ramping up a whole bunch of new podcasts and stuff as we get the site launched as well. And BuckeyeHuddle.com, still at the moment, still free. We're working on launching the full site. It's going to be an eventful month, Tony. It's there's a lot of stuff going on, but here we are, 24 days from the Notre Dame game.
Is that right, Tom? It feels like it's much sooner. Much closer on the horizon than 24 days. I have a feeling it's going to go quickly, though.
It definitely will go quickly. We have a lot of stuff going on. That's generally a good way to make time fly by. So we'll make sure you guys, first of all, thank you for all of your support. Thank you for all of your viewership and your listenership and all
patience.
of that. And patience. Yes, thank you for your patience as well. We'll 24 days. It's almost here, and yes, we will be there. Should be a really, really fun August leading into what should be shaping up to be a pretty interesting fall, I think. So
Depends on Sonny Styles.
Pump the brakes, Tony. Pump the brakes. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.